Well, we are getting excited, aren't we? The NBA season is only 4 days away. Let's say four, and it is the final weekend before the start of the NBA season, which means it is draft weekend. A lot of people would be hosting their drafts this weekend, snake drafts, auction drafts, all formats. So it is going to be a busy weekend. Everyone wants to know who are these last minute players we can target. Lots of questions. So I just thought I'd run through today my projected starting lineups for each team, depth charts. Not going to spend too much time on each team. I don't want this to go too long. So sort of 60, 90 seconds. Some teams obviously warrant a little more discussion than others. So hopefully it balances out and I don't keep you too long. Welcome to Stuff It, a fantasy basketball podcast brought to you by FanDuel and FanTrax, part of the Old Man Squad. Please subscribe to the Old Man Squad YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Go and find us on the audio platforms. Download over there. Do it all. We love it all. Let's get straight into it. Which screen do we want to use? We'll go with that one. Let's go with that one. All right. Let's start at the top. The Atlanta Hawks projected starting lineups. Now you can see I'm using the Hoops Hype website. There are lots of options for depth charts. If you're a paid Basketball Monster member, you can see the depth charts over there as well. But I thought I'd go with this one. It's got pictures. It looks pretty. And fairly consensus here. Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Reese-Shea, Jalen Johnson, and Kristaps Porzingis will be the starters, I believe. In terms of fantasy value, Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, all must-roster players, as is Onyeka Okongwu. I think Reese-Shea, I don't mind grabbing him at the back end of a draft. Beyond that, I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard are probably going to be streamers more than anything else. Similar to what we've seen the last couple of seasons. Despite the change in team, I think their value and projected roles sort of stay pretty similar. Moving on to Boston. A few more questions when it comes to Boston. Obviously, with no Jason Tatum, no Kristaps Porzingis, no Drew Holiday. I do think Peyton Pritchard and Derek White start in the backcourt with Jaylen Brown. Then we get the questions. You can see Hoops Hype have got Chris Boucher and Neemias Queta as their projected starters. I do think Queta will start at center, so I will say that. The power forward position, the other name I guess to consider there is Sam Hauser. He's looked okay in the preseason. He's obviously quite limited in terms of what he brings to the court. Pritchard, White, Brown, all must-roster players. Anthony Simons, I think, is a must-roster player. He will come off the bench, I believe, but should play close to starters minutes and could average 20, 21, 22 points a game. I spoke with, I think it was on my show with Brett Usher. I actually think Simons coming off the bench helps him in terms of opportunities, fantasy value. So make sure he's being rostered as well. And then Luka Garza, I didn't mind him as a late round target. I think he will need 24 plus minutes though. I think he would need to be starting to be categorized as a must roster player. So if he's only going to come off the bench and play 20 to 22 minutes, I'm not sure he is. Sam Hauser, Chris Boucher, I think both of those guys are fine as late round flyers. Let's see who starts. Let's see who plays the bulk of the minutes. Okay. Oh, Josh Minott. Let's talk about him just very quickly. Not sure what his role is going to be. But he is someone I think could have value in 20 to 22 minutes. He's looked very good in the preseason. Deeper leagues, I think you have to roster him with a last round pick. Standard leagues, just keep an eye on him. If you don't draft him, if no one drafts him, just have a look at what that rotation looks like early in the season. All right, over to Brooklyn. A lot of questions here too, more around the depth, I think, than the starters. Cam Thomas, Michael Porter, Nick Claxton will definitely all start. I think Noah Clowney probably starts at the power forward position. They've got some options here, though. Zaire Williams could also start in that lineup. The point guard spot, they've got Igor Demon here. Nolan Traore actually started during the preseason, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him start. Fantasy value, look, it's Cam Thomas, Michael Porter, Nick Claxton. They are your three must roster players, I believe. And we do know the concerns here with Brooklyn later in the season. Outside of those guys, Day'Ron Sharpe, he remains one of those sort of per minute upside players who, if he could play even 26 minutes a night, he'd be, I don't know, top 70, top 60. But at this stage, it just doesn't look like he will. Last round pick, if you need some big man stats, I think he will play 18 to 20 minutes. So there's a relatively safe floor there. Then you've got Zaire Williams, who I mentioned, Traore, Demon, Clowney, Terrence Mann, Jalen Wilson. All of these guys could have fantasy value at some point throughout the season. Clowney, he's someone we were pretty high on last year, never really eventuated. I'm still not there on him as a must-roster player. Same goes for Zaire Williams. Terrence Mann, I mean, we've seen him in a starting role, and he hasn't been great, but that's been on a better team. So I think here on a team that will just take any production from anyone, Terrence Mann is someone I'd be watching. If he comes off the bench, if he starts, but plays 30 minutes, 29 minutes, I think there'll just be more shots, more for him to do. So he is someone I would be monitoring as well. Over to the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, definitely starting. I think they'll go with Con Knipple as, he's probably more of a shooting guard with Brandon Miller as a small forward. So I do think they go with him and with Sexton off the bench. The starting center spot, look, as long as it's not Mason Plumlee, I'm happy. You can see they've got Ryan Kalkbrenner third here in the pecking order. I'm hoping that they go with Diabate and Kalkbrenner. Even if it's in a minute split, I'm okay with that. It does make drafting either of those guys tough. So LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Bridges, probably Con Knipple have to be rostered. Colin Sexton, I would be viewing him as like an Anthony Simons type. So a guy that come off the bench, play meaningful minutes and get you close to 20 points a game, 18 maybe. I'd be drafting him as well. And then the center spot, yeah, look, it's really tough. I mean, you can see none of them are on a lot of money, so there isn't really incentive to play any of them. Kalkbrenner to me makes sense just because they drafted him, so they went out and got him. Diabate likewise. I think they liked what they saw last season. He's just a little bit undersized and not your sort of traditional center. So I think there's reason to play both of those guys. Plumlee, obviously not, more of a depth sort of veteran piece that can almost mentor these guys. So Kalkbrenner, Diabate, last round pick, sure. We didn't get a lot of answers during the preseason, which is disappointing. Okay, over to the Bulls. Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Matas Buzelis, Nikola Vucevic. Those four will all start and should all be rostered. The fifth starter, look, it could be Isaac Okoro. He obviously brings the most defense to that starting lineup, which they need. I wouldn't draft him, even if he starts. We've seen him start for Cleveland, and he's not someone we have to roster. I would consider Ayo Dosunmu as someone you could roster. He sort of finds a way, doesn't he, to play 28 to 30 minutes, and that's what he needs to be fantasy relevant. So last round, sure. There'll be periods of the season where he's only playing probably 24 minutes and won't be a must-roster player. I would consider him over Isaac Okoro, I think. And Trey Jones, I'm not drafting him. Deeper leagues maybe, but he was very good to end the season last year, has had a very good preseason. as long as Giddey's there, it's going to be tough for him to play more than 20 minutes. But he's young, and I think that there's some incentive to play him to see if he can be a piece of whatever their future is. Okie dokie. Cleveland. Now, Lonzo will probably start at the point guard spot. Last round guy that you have for 3 weeks until Darius Garland is back. That's about it, I think, for Lonzo. Once Garland is back, I don't see Lonzo as a must-roster player. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, I think we'll all start, definitely have to be rostered. DeAndre Hunter probably gets the 5th starting spot with Max Strus out. And you roster him. I mean, he's pretty limited. We know what we get from him, but I think you have to roster him. Garland, you draft him a little bit later and just stash him in your IR. Beyond those guys, look, Craig Porter is interesting, but he needs some injuries. Like if Lonzo got injured, I wouldn't mind looking at Craig Porter. And Larry Nance, if they do go with more of Evan Mobley at center, Nance at the 4, Nance only needs about 24 minutes to have value. So if he's at 16 to 18 minutes, no. If he does bump up closer to that 24 mark, then I think he's someone to consider. Oh, went a bit far there. Dallas. Questions here as well. Klay Thompson, I think, will start. Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively. All 4 of those guys probably have to be rostered. Klay is sort of 50-50. If you need some threes late, he's obviously very limited at this stage in his career. But points and threes, he's fine. He's more of a streamer, though. D'Angelo Russell, does he start at point guard? I thought so, and I'm on the fence. I think you still roster him because even if he comes off the bench, I think he plays decent minutes. So I would still be rostering D'Angelo Russell. And then let's get a look at what that starting lineup looks like. Because if Flagg does shift to the point guard spot, PJ Washington probably comes in. He's probably someone you have to roster anyway, even if he's coming off the bench. But if he's starting, definitely, and he probably moves up maybe a round or 2. If he's off the bench playing mid-20s, he's, back end, I think. Beyond that, no one I don't think has to be rostered. Daniel Gafford, I guess you grab him late. He's injured at the moment, though. Pretty limited in terms of what he does. He does what he does very well. So he's probably going to end up rostered in a lot of spots. And I think that's okay. All right, over to Denver. Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic will be the starting 5. All should be rostered. Aaron Gordon, I mean, upside is what it is, but a guy that's starting on a team that's competing, and look, he does enough. So I think he does have to be rostered. Beyond them, standard league, I really don't think there's anyone you have to roster there. Bruce Brown will undoubtedly have some value at points throughout the season. Valanciunas likewise, Peyton Watson potentially, Julian Strawther, but it's going to be very inconsistent. So I don't actually think you need to roster any of those guys. Over to Detroit. Now, no Jaden Ivey, so slightly different starting lineup. Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren will all start. I think Duncan Robinson will be the 5th starter. He started in the preseason game yesterday. So he probably moved from a streamer to a rosterable player until Jaden Ivey returns. I would still draft Jaden Ivey. He'll fall though. His draft ADP will fall. Karis LeVert, I would also be drafting. He is the other candidate, I think, to be that 5th starter. So both he and Duncan Robinson probably draftable once Ivey is back. Maybe one of them can maintain value. I doubt both of them will. Isaiah Stewart in deeper leagues is someone I've started picking up. He'll play 20, 22 minutes. He's a good shot blocker, good rebounder. Field goal percentage is not what you want from a center because he does try to stretch the floor a little bit. But he's looked pretty good. I think he's settled into his role really nicely. Okay. Golden State. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford will all start. The fifth starter, they've got Buddy Hield here. I think it'll be Podziemski who will start. I would be rostering Podziemski. I would not be rostering Buddy Hield. Stream him in as required, but that's about it. Horford, he's fine as a really late center. We know that he's very limited offensively. He'll do bits and pieces. And look, I mean, this team isn't loaded with scorers. Steph Curry, obviously a very good scorer. Jimmy Butler isn't the scorer he used to be. Podziemski can be a scorer. Draymond Green is not. Al Horford is not. So, yeah, look, there'll be points to go around. But, yeah, I think I'd view Horford as a rosterable player. Not a high priority, though. Buddy Hield, no, I'm okay. Podziemski, yes. Kuminga, points leagues, gets a big bump. Standard sort of category leagues, he's fine, assuming he can play 28 minutes. On to Houston. Now, Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, Alperen Sengun will all start. They have Aaron Holiday here as the fifth starter. I think it'll be Reed Shepherd. Based on what we've seen in the preseason, he's started every game, I think. So Reed Shepherd, along with those other four players, they are all must-roster players, as is Tari Eason. Aaron Holiday, deeper leagues. I mean, he's obviously going to play more with no Fred VanVleet, but not enough to be a 12-team guy. Someone, I'm not drafting him, but in specific situations, Steven Adams is interesting. They've come out and said that they might run some two big lineups with Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun. And we know that Adams, when he's on the court, is a very good rebounder. So more of just if you need rebounds, an efficient scorer, then I don't mind. Don't mind Adams there in deeper leagues. Onto the Pacers. No Tyrese Halliburton, obviously. So Andrew Nembhard will start at point guard. I think these will be the starters here: Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, and Isaiah Jackson. Nembhard, Mathurin, Siakam have to be rostered. Nesmith probably has to be rostered as well. His ceiling, his floor, they basically line up at this point, but he does enough. Look, beyond them, Isaiah Jackson probably should be rostered. I haven't been super impressed with his preseason. He gets in foul trouble a lot. Jay Huff has also not been fantastic. Tony Bradley's been there. So this is a little bit like the Boston center rotation. It's a bit cloudy. I think Jackson is the guy you want to target there, followed by Huff. They also have Wiseman, who has popped up in the preseason and looked okay. So this could be a situation where Jackson, Huff, Wiseman, and maybe even Bradley at some point all have value. It's going to be pretty limited, but I think I would go with Jackson at the moment. And just keep an eye on Johnny Furphy. I'm not drafting him, but shout out to him. I would monitor what his role looks like. On to the Clippers. Very old lineup, Los Angeles. James Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, Ivica Zubac. If that is the starting five, I'm four of those guys, yes. Collins, I'm not sure. They might chop and change a bit based on matchups. Derek Jones would probably be the guy that I think could step into that starting lineup. Zubac, Leonard, Beal, Harden, I'm rostering all of those guys. Derek Jones, even if he starts, I don't think you have to roster him. John Collins, though, I definitely would start him. Even if he comes off the bench, I think he's going to play a pretty significant role. Bogdanovic, he was pretty bad last year. I don't think you have to roster him. I think you can. Chris Paul, no. Assists and steals, a specialist if you're just looking for those categories. Brook Lopez, yeah, look, again, late. Zubats is not going to play the same amount of minutes he did last season, but he's still going to be their starter and play heavy minutes. So Lopez, and they're going to be tough to play together. So Lopez is probably going to settle in about the 20 to 22 minute range, which if you need just block, and that's one of the issues with him is that he doesn't rebound. So he's not a guy you can stream in and get 8 rebounds. If he only plays 20, 22 minutes, he might average 5 rebounds a game. So, yeah, Lopez, I think, just if you need those blocks at the back end of the draft. Alrighty, on to the Lakers. No LeBron James for, they're saying, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Luka, Austin Reeves, DeAndre Ayton will all start. Rui Hachimura probably starts. Oh, excuse me. Early morning. Rui Hachimura probably starts. With no LeBron, I think he's okay if you need points. We're still rostering LeBron, obviously, drafting him. He's going in the 40s, maybe the 50s. It's risky, I think, but obviously the upside is there with him. Marcus Smart, I don't think I'd be considering him at this point. Vanderbilt, I've picked him up late in a few drafts. Very limited to what he does, but steals, rebounds, field goal percentage. There's some blocks, depends how close he's playing to the rim. So he is someone to consider, I think, late. Dalton Connect, no. Jake LaRavia, if he plays sizable minutes with LeBron out, he has an interesting skill set. He can do bits and pieces across the board. So he is someone else I'd consider late until LeBron is back. Okay, on to Memphis. So Ja Morant, hoping that he is back for the start of the regular season, will start alongside Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson, and I guess Santi Aldama starts. The question here will be whether they go with Landale as the center until Zach Edey is back, or do they start Jaren Jackson at the center? If Landale starts, he'd have to play like 30 minutes, I think, to sniff value. And even if he starts, I don't think he plays 30 minutes. So I'm probably not considering him. Definitely considering Aldama. Once Edey is back, Aldama goes to the bench. He'll probably end up being dropped in some leagues, but the chances are there'll be another injury and he'll maintain a pretty hefty role there. Edey, we want to be drafting Edey later in drafts. Once he is back, I think he will play big minutes and should be pretty good. Scottie Pippen and Ty Jerome. Obviously, if Morant misses the start of the season, which if that happens, it's only going to be a game or two, they get a bump. If Morant is healthy, I think they're both going to play decent roles. I mean, Contavious Caldwell-Pope is a good defender, but he's not an impactful player. So I do think that Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen are both worth a look late in drafts, and obviously an injury to Morant or Caldwell-Pope or even Jalen Wells for that matter probably moves them up a little bit. On to the Heat. No Tyler Hero. Oh, God, my scrolling's bad today. No Tyler Hero. So a slightly different starting lineup. Davion Mitchell, I think, will start, but there is also a chance that they start Nikola Jovic. Does Kel'el Ware start? I don't know. They've gone away from that in the preseason. Wiggins will start. Powell will start. Bam will start. So they all have to be rostered. Kel'el Ware has to be rostered even if he's coming off the bench. We're not sure what happens. I think Davion Mitchell, I mean, you look at all the names on this list, he is sort of the only point guard. I guess they could try and put the ball in Jovic's hands a little bit, but that could be fraught with danger. I'm still drafting Jovic. I think he will play close to 30 minutes a night. They like him. I'd have him over Jaquez pretty comfortably at this point. Yakuchonis is interesting as well. I just don't think they would put him out there given his inexperience. If you remember back to last season, before the injury, Drew Smith actually was starting to pop up on the radar. Now, there's a lot of depth here. He could play 16 minutes. He could play 26 minutes. Just keep an eye on him, I think. That's probably it, I think, just looking at the list there. On to the Bucks. Giannis, yes. Miles Turner, yes. Gary Trent will probably start. I guess you roster him. It's not very exciting. It's a pretty depressing looking rotation, to be honest. Kevin Porter, roster him. He probably starts. That's sort of where it's heading. Does he hold on to that position? That I can't answer. But yeah, I think we roster him. They've just re-signed AJ Green. So is that a sort of an indication that they're high on him, high to the point where they will start him? Remains to be seen. I'm not actively targeting him at this point. I'd rather take a chance on a Ryan Rollins or a Cole Anthony. Bobby Portis, yeah, look, he benefits when Giannis is out or when Miles Turner is out, but probably plays enough. Kyle Kuzma, no, I don't think you have to roster him. I think you can if you're just looking for a 15-point scorer who sort of doesn't do much, but his defense is so bad. I'm just not sure how long his role will be significant on this team. I think he probably starts the season as a key piece for them, but yeah, if his defense doesn't improve, then there's a chance that they'll go with guys like Taurean Prince over him. We'll see. On to the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, all must-roster players. Mike Conley will start, it looks like, but you don't have to draft him. Dante DiVincenzo, I would be drafting as I would with Naz Reid. That's probably it. I think Jalen Clark, Leonard Miller are interesting, but would need injuries. Berenjay has looked pretty good, summer league, preseason, but again, he would need an injury to Rudy Gobert. And the fact that Naz Reid will play the 5 as well, he just won't play enough. He's a name to watch for the future, absolutely. But for this season, I just don't see it. For the Pelicans, obviously no DeJounte Murray, no Kevon Looney. So there were some question marks around that center spot. Looney had looked pretty good in the preseason, but he's out. So it will be Yves Missi, I would assume, who will start because Derek Queen is also injured. So Missi, Zion, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Jordan Poole all have to be rostered. Missi, just monitor. I think as long as Queen and Looney are injured, he will have value. But once they come back, he may fall out of favor a little bit, depending on how they've been producing. I like Derek Queen. I just don't know. He hasn't had a preseason. So it's going to be a bit of a ramp up for him. I do like him long term. I think he might be their center, but for this season, I'm not sure. Sadiq Bey has looked good in the preseason as well. But if you remember back, even when he was starting for Detroit, he was fine as a back ender. That's about it. So I've seen him being drafted. I just don't see it at this point. On to New York. Brunson, Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, yes, all must roster, all will start. And then it might be interchangeable. We've seen Mitchell Robinson start during the preseason alongside Towns. And obviously Josh Hart can start as well. So I think all 6 of those players have to be rostered. Jordan Clarkson and Miles McBride, I think, just points, guys. They've got a new coach, no more Tom Thibodeau. Mike Brown is in there. He will spread the minutes a little more than Thibodeau did, which makes Clarkson and McBride players to consider. But I don't, they're not going to play, I don't think, more than, 24 minutes, 25 minutes a night. Mitchell Robinson may only play 25 minutes a night as well, but he can do a lot more in terms of fantasy stuff. I've picked him up late in almost every draft that I've been in, so I would be recommending him. On to the Thunder. What are we looking at? 30 minutes, not too bad. Shea, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, probably the starting lineup there. The only, I guess, question mark is Cason Wallace. He could also start if they go, and this could be a little bit matchup dependent as well. They could start Chet at the center, shuffle everyone around and get Cason Wallace in there as the shooting guard. The 5 starters, yes, roster those guys. Cason Wallace, yes, has to be rostered. He will play more, I think, than last season. He was top 5, I think, in steals per game last year. Pretty under the radar kind of a player, but he's young. I think he's very key to what they do. So I'm pretty high on Cason Wallace for this year to make not a giant leap, but just a small leap. Caruso per minute, very good. Probably only plays 22 to 24 minutes, so he'll be more of a streamer, as would you guys like Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe. Brooks Barnheiser has looked good in the preseason, but again, not enough minutes to go around there, I don't think. On to the Magic. Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bain, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter. Pretty clear-cut starting 5 here, assuming Suggs is healthy. If Suggs is not healthy, it's probably Anthony Black that starts. I wouldn't be drafting him, I don't think, even if he does start. Bain, Wagner, Banchero, Suggs, Carter. I would be rostering. Carter has looked good in the preseason. Fingers crossed this actually turns into some sustainable value. Beyond those guys, there isn't really anyone. Badadze, with no Mo Wagner, I suppose he has a path to being that backup, and we have seen him take that role away from Wendell Carter in the past. Jonathan Isaac, I think he can only play 20 minutes a game, and yeah, he'll get some steals and blocks, some rebounds, but yeah, I just don't think the ceiling is there given the injury history and the fact that they tend to put him in cotton wool all season. On to the 76ers. So question marks here, I guess, regarding health. Maxey will start, has to be rostered. Edgecombe probably starts, should be rostered. Paul George is injured. Well, probably going to be injured. We're rostering him. You can get him pretty late. If he can get healthy and stay healthy, he'll obviously be a really nice value pick. Same goes for Joel Embiid. Questionable for opening night. About 50 is as early as I would go when drafting him, but I'm not really super interested in him. Look, it's a weird starting lineup, weird depth chart. Kelly Oubre probably starts. He did last season. Quentin Grimes could start there as well. Who do we have to draft? Maxey, Edgecombe, Embiid, Paul George, probably your must roster players. Oubre probably falls into that bucket as of now. Quentin Grimes, I think, a late rounder. He was very good last season, so I'm hoping that they do find minutes for him. And Adem Bona, really good as a last round pick. Even if Embiid plays, I think he's going to be managed a bit. So there is scope for Adem Bona to play 18 to 20 minutes a night, even with Embiid healthy. So if that's his floor, he could get you 6 to 7 rebounds, 1.5 blocks. And then obviously if Embiid is injured, then it's all systems go on Adem Bona. On to the Suns. Playing with a bit to prove, I think, this season. Devin Booker, Mark Williams, they are our must-roster players in the starting lineup. Jalen Green also must-roster, injured at the moment, which is a shame, but we do roster him. And then it's a whole lot of mediocrity. Grayson Allen, I think, has looked good in the preseason. You grab him late. Remember, 2 seasons ago, he was someone we had to roster. Last season, not so much. Dylan Brooks, I guess. But, I mean, he started his whole career and he's rarely been a must-roster player. I'm not sure if that changes here. Ryan Dunn, look, you probably do roster him. He's young. He's going to start. He can hit threes. He can block shots. So, yeah, I don't mind taking a chance on him. Mark Williams still not cleared for opening night. If he doesn't play, I think Iguodaro will start and just pops up on the radar. So I wouldn't actively be drafting him, I don't think, unless we get some clarity around Mark Williams. And if Mark Williams doesn't play, Nick Richards also will play a bit more. Carmen Malawach, they've just got options there now, so it makes it tricky to build a case for any of them outside of Mark Williams. The Portland Trailblazers, Drew Holiday with Scoot Henderson out. Make sure Drew Holiday is being drafted. Kamara, Denny Avdia, Donovan Clingan, all must roster players. They've got Jeremy Grant here as a starter. I think he might come off the bench. Shaden Sharp will start. Make sure Shaden Sharp is being drafted. He is, I'm pretty sure. Jeremy Grant could end up being a really nice late round pick if he comes off the bench and plays 28 minutes. He'll still have value. Whether he sticks around in Portland, I don't know. Matisse Thybulle, seemingly always injured, very good for steals, as we know. Young Hansen not really playing enough at this stage. I think he'll have value at some point throughout the season, but at the moment, no. And Scoot, draft Scoot. You can get him really late. He'll be back, and he may start. They may, if they're playing well, I think they will bring him off the bench and continue to start Drew Holiday. But I think Scoot will still play enough to have value once he is back on the floor. All right, before we get into the Sacramento Kings, a reminder that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. With only 4 days, as I said, till the start of the season, jump over to the FanDuel website, sportsbook.fanduel.com. All of the award winners are there, all of the sort of leading into the season odds, player awards, over-unders, everything there you need if you are a gambler. Head to sportsbook.fanduel.com. Get your bets on now. Nice odds. There's odds on certain players at the moment, and they could obviously change quite quickly once we get a look at rotation. So now is a really good time to get some early bets on, especially if you're looking at long shots. Because, some of those long shots, the money will come in once we see what they can actually do on the court. All right, the Sacramento Kings. Pretty ugly kind of a lineup here, isn't it? Levine, DeRozan, Sabonis, roster all of those guys. Schroeder, I suppose, whatever. Keegan Murray, draft him. You can get him really late. He's out for a little while with his injury. They signed Russell Westbrook yesterday or the day before. I think actually the bigger, I guess, noteworthy piece of information with Westbrook coming to Sacramento is that he hurts other players. So he hurts Dennis Schroeder, he hurts Keon Ellis, and almost makes them players you can ignore to some degree. Levine, DeRozan, Sabonis, Keegan Murray are probably the four that you have to roster. Malik Monk, I don't think he'll start. I think he'll come off the bench, which isn't a terrible thing. I think he'll still be rosterable. Last season, he was someone we were targeting. He moved into the starting lineup, which obviously gave him a bump, but I still think he'll have some value even if he does come off the bench. The San Antonio Spurs, De'Aaron Fox is injured at the moment. Shouldn't be out too long. So you can get him at a bit of a discount at the moment. Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, who starts? Champagny probably just gives them another scoring option. Harrison Barnes will start, whether you think he should or not, he will. And obviously Wembanyama. So Wembanyama, Vassell, I think Castle, obviously De'Aaron Fox. I think they all have to be rostered. Jeremy Sohan is injured already. He was borderline anyway, so you can probably leave him or just grab him with your last pick and move him to your IR spot. Dylan Harper is probably the only other one to consider there. With Fox out, he will play a bit more, so maybe he does have some value to start the season. But I think once Fox is back, it's just going to be hard for him to play enough to have value. And if Wemby gets injured at any point, Luke Cornett has looked really good. Haven't seen much of Kelly Olynyk. We know who he is and what he does. Keldon Johnson, just points. I think just points. He is another option to start there at the small forward spot. And again, points. If you need points, look at Keldon Johnson. The Toronto Raptors, look, I mean, actually a team that doesn't need a lot of discussion, weirdly. Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. They will start. They have to be rostered. Outside of them, don't worry about anyone. Grady Dick, streamer. Jamal Shed, streamer. That's about it. If Poeltl gets injured, just keep an eye on Mamu Kelishvili. He's looked pretty good in the preseason. So, yeah, don't draft him. Monitor. Utah, another team with some question marks. Kessler will start. Make sure he's rostered. Markkanen, likewise. Ace Bailey, likewise. Does Collier start at the point guard? Does Keontae George start? I mean, they went with Collier down the stretch last season. So if we base our opinion on that, then they're probably going to go with him again. Assists, that's about it. That's really all he brings to the table. Keontae George, I would draft over Isaiah Collier at this point. Bryce Sensabaugh has been really good in the preseason. Taylor Hendricks has been pretty good. Both of those guys, I think, make for nice late-round targets, as does Kyle Filipowski. His role probably increases as we move through the season. On to the Washington Wizards, our last team. CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, older players, obviously, but have to be rostered. They're pretty... I mean, I'd have McCollum over Middleton quite comfortably, but I still think Middleton will do enough. Alex Sarr, I think, makes some steps forward from last season. Roster him. Bub Carrington, I'm not sold on him. I guess he probably starts. If you want to draft him, you can. Keyshawn George is the player I've got my eye on here. Another one I've drafted in a lot of my leagues, and it has looked really good. Make sure he is being rostered. Cam Whitmore, flyer, kind of for points. And Bilal Coulibaly, who's injured at the moment, take him late, put him in your IR spot, because once he's back, he's going to slot into this starting lineup somewhere. I think they will end up going with Bub Carrington, Keyshawn George, Chris Middleton, Bilal Coulibaly, and Alex Sarr. I think that will be the starting lineup that they want. And then eventually Middleton will phase out and they'll bring in Trey Johnson or Cam Whitmore or something like that. So there will be changes here, but that's sort of how I view it at the moment. And that will do. All 30 teams, 43 minutes, not too bad. I went over on a couple of teams, but that's all right. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of clarity heading into your draft weekend. Remember to find me at Adam King 91. At Old Man Squad is where you'll find all of our stuff. At Dan Besbris, at Noah Rubin 22, I believe, at NBA G Wiz, at Rotomancer is Eric. So there's a lot of us. We're doing stuff. Please subscribe to the Old Man Squad YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Go and find us on the audio platforms. Do all of that. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Adam King. You have been listening to Stuff It, Fantasy Basketball Podcast. We are done.